Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the session today. Uh, my name is Sareen Nainen. So we have the session today for how to protect your data with layered security from Fortra and Bulwark Technologies. The Fortra Data Security Suite allows organizations to communicate and collaborate securely, safe in the knowledge that none of their sensitive data is being inappropriately shared with people inside or outside of the organization. In this session, we are going to take a look at how organizations such as yourselves or your customers can use the Fortra Data Security Suite to protect your sensitive data from both external and internal threats and avoid costly damage to reputation and legal fines, all while ensuring that these protections don't become a barrier to legitimate business processes. Now, to reduce the background noise, we do have you all on mute. However, please feel free to use the questions panel to ask any questions as we go through the session. We will have a session at the end to pick up any questions that we don't tick off as we are running through the session itself. And we would also like to let you know that the session is being recorded and shall share it with you in a day's time. After the session, if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us. Today's session is addressed by myself, Sarin Nainan, who's the product manager for Fortra at Bulwark Technologies, and Dhaval Gandhi, who's the senior technical consultant for Fortra at Bulwark Technologies. So let us look at the agenda. In terms of the structure of the session, we are going to start off by taking a talking briefly about Fortra and Bulwark and what makes data security quite tricky for some of the organizations we deal with. And then we will have we will discuss about what is data protection and the data protection solutions from Fortra. And then we will move on to the data classification and a demo for Bolden James, and then we will come to the question and answer session. Dhaval, next slide, please. So let us look at, you all know about Bulwark Technologies. Bulwark Technologies is an award-winning cybersecurity value-added distributor in the region. Bulwark had started its operations in 1999, so we have completed 21 plus successful years of cybersecurity in the region. It's a privately held organization and profitable from the first year. We are representing 22 plus vendors and their complete products and solutions portfolio. Our head office is in the UAE, and we are operating across the GCC countries, and we have offices in KSA and also in India as well. We have 500 plus partners like yourself across the region who are our extended arms to support us throughout our journey. We are partnered with Help Systems, which is now Fortra since a long time, and it started with Linoma Software in 2014. We have a dedicated sales, marketing, and technical team, and also certified and dedicated technical engineers for the entire Fortra or the Help Systems portfolio. Next slide, please. So you can see that Help System is now Fortra. Help Systems announced on November 2022 that it has become Fortra, a name synchronous with security and defense. This evolution reflects the company's enhanced commitment to helping customers, simply the complexity of cybersecurity in a business environment. As part of this evolution, the company shifted its focus to cybersecurity and automation, building a best-in-class portfolio with key capabilities in data security, infrastructure protection, and managed security services. So they have grown over 3,000 employees across 18 countries and 30,000 plus global customers across the region. And they also had a lot of acquisitions, a lot of great acquisitions like Digital Guardian, Tripwire, Fish Labs, Go Anywhere, Titus, Bolden James, etc., and other well-known software and service providers. Let's start off by talking about why data security itself is so tricky for organizations. I think typically when we are talking to any organizations about data loss prevention or compliance projects, their concern falls into three key categories mainly. The first of those is around stopping the external risk from getting into the organization. So we are asked, how do we stop the ransomware, the spyware from getting into business to steal our sensitive data or limit our ability to access our infrastructure and our data? The second area organizations typically have the concerns around is the data loss prevention. And you can absolutely put mechanisms in place that will start to reduce the risk of the malicious insiders within an organization. But actually, when you look at it, lot of data loss events that occur, the majority of them are people making just simple mistake. It's somebody maybe clicking on a wrong name in an Outlook autocomplete and sending some sensitive information outside of the organization, and it goes to an inappropriate recipient. So, and you can absolutely put controls in place to start to mitigate those kind of accidental data losses. And the last area organizations have the concern is in the overarching shadow of compliance. So we have the GDPRs, the HIPAAs, the PCIs of the world that really are putting a lot of more focus on how we handle our sensitive information. So how we share it internally, externally, and all the controls that we put around it. Next slide, please. Fortra recently ran a survey of about 250 CISOs for financial services firms worldwide. And a result of that mirrored that what we see anecdotally when we are talking to organizations. One of the key things that jumped out was the concern around data visibility. And talking to the CISOs, it almost fell into two areas. The first of this is despite having the people and processes in place that set out how sensitive data should be handled and shared by an organization, CISOs had concerns that they did not have the full level of visibility that they wanted to have into the data flows, the repositories, or that would give them confidence that their employees are actually following those processes. So this is a main concern about data visibility. Where does our data live? How is it being stored and shared? Is it really secure? And who has access to what? Next slide, please. The second thought of this, though, is almost information overload and getting too much data. What they are finding is that existing DLP and compliance suites are generating too many false positives and that they are overloading the compliance teams and the security teams. And their real concern is that they are potentially missing some of the real risk against a background sea of noise. I think when we look at the traditional approach to data security, it is very much focused on infrastructure control. But it doesn't matter how well locked down your data center is, how well controlled the access to the application is. Since the data, at some point, we have to have certain subset of our trusted employees have access to the data for their job. And this is where all the risk is. And this is where all the data breaches creeps into play. So I think ideally we should be looking at how we protect the data throughout the entire life cycle, from the point that it is created through the various mechanisms that we use to share it, all the way to the point that outside of our control and in the hands of our business partners and customers. Next slide, please. So here, let us look at what data protection is. Data protection is the process of safeguarding information or important information from theft or loss. These actions can be malicious or unintentional. A large part of data protection is ensuring that the data is accessible for authorized purpose only, and as well as being compliant with necessary regulatory requirements. So when we move forward, the data protection solution by Fortra. So organizations rely on sensitive data to serve their customers. So the Fortra's leading data protection offering combines data classification, data loss prevention, and digital rights management to deliver the data protection throughout the entire data lifecycle. Moving forward, if you, double next slide, please. Data protection solutions by Fortra. So here we have the data classification. So classification solutions apply visual and metadata labels to ensure that data is protected and controlled wherever it travels. From user-driven, or we can have a completely automated one. Our solutions are completely flexible and customized to meet the data protection requirements of the customer. So we have two solutions, Titus as well as Bold and James for that. Moving on to the next one, data loss prevention. Digital Guardian's data protection platform powered by AWS. It performs on traditional endpoints across the corporate networks and cloud applications. So that is, and the also solution we offer is from Digital Guardian. And next, moving on to the digital rights management solution we offer from Fortra is the Vera, which makes it easier to securely share the files externally with third parties. Although you're sharing your file outside, but you have the complete control of the files even while it is shared outside. So that is why, when we move to the next slide, we can see Forrester and Gartner, Gartner, they say that if you do not know what you have, where it is, and why you have it, you can't expect to apply the appropriate policies and controls to protect it. Gartner also says, focus on controls that broadly addresses the problem, such as implementing people-centric security and data classifications. These are the foundation and additional upon which the additional controls can be built. So this is what Forrester or Gartner says, and when it comes straight away from the analyst, any organization can follow it as well. So, and next we have why data classification. And I request Dhaval to take it from here onwards. Thank you, everyone. And from here, Dhaval will be taking forward with the data classification, and he will be giving you a demo as well for Bolden James. And in the next, so we will have multiple sessions. So this is the first session that we have. So the next sessions, we will be going forward for the DLP and as well as for the DRM system. So over to you, Dhaval.
Thanks, Hari. And hello, everyone. So myself, Dhaval Gandhi, and we'll drive the board engine journey further to make you understand on all its reach and features and functionality. So let's understand why data classification. So when we say the data classification is a process of organizing the data into the categories based on their attributes or characteristics. It's essential for the organization. It's essential for the organization to protect the sensitive data, compliance with regulation, manage the risks, analyze the data stored, and retrieve the information and facilitate the collaboration among the team member. So here you can see we have the few business values of the data classification. Once you have the data classified, then you can demonstrate the compliance report, because the compliance team mainly asks you to generate a report and send it to them to understand whether the proper policies has been followed by each and every user for their documents. It also ensures that the security culture has been maintained in the organization. You can also collaborate with any third-party vendor application with the help of metadata or intelligence applied at the document. So even it makes you feel safe while collaborating with any third-party application. This will help us to increase the business value and reduce the management cost due to the intelligence added over the document. Through classification, we can set the policy which can be checked for the metadata, verify whether any repetition or duplication data available, then it can be simply deleted. So let's see what is the classification now. So here I can say what is the classification, how it can be useful for the organization, and what is the return on the investment once you get the classification solution placed in the organization. So in Golden Gem, we define the policy which categorize your data. You can define your data as non-business, general business, internal, or confidential. This acts as a visual marking. Once the visual marking is added, it adds a metadata. The metadata is something which is hidden inside the document and non-readable by the human beings. It is readable by the downstream technology like DLP solution, email security, etc. They can read the metadata and take the further required actions. So here you can see the metadata has been given an example where the labels has been converted into the metadata form and stored it in the document, which will be later used by the all downstream technologies. Moving ahead, let's understand the classification process also. So when we discuss on the process of classification, each stage has four stages. First is the discovery stage. The discovery stage in the data classification is a process of identifying and locating the data within the organization IT environment. This stage is important because before an organization can classify its data, it needs to know what kind of data is available and where it is located. The next stage is classify, which is actually classifying the document. This required because nowadays terabyte of reports are being generated on daily basis, and also those data are unstructured. Thus, we need an intelligent solution to classify our data. Moving ahead on the next stage, that is a protection. The DLP solution comes into the picture like email monitoring or archiving solution. And the last stage is a monitor, where you are checking whether the user is following the required security policies and the user who are sending out the sensitive information to any other user and application to get them controlled. Moving ahead, we do support the different kinds of classification. One is automate, one is user driven. With automate mode, the classification allows you to validate document on the configured policy, and the restriction is given to the any to while sharing any sensitive information with any other application. We also have the option to user driven classification. Thus, it will allow the user to classify their own data and provide a valid tag or label based on their preferences. So now let's come to the Golden Gem. So in the Golden Gem, we have the licenses categories available. So Foundation Suite is one of the package whereby we get a list of the classifiers available in the whole package. So you have the different kinds of the categories of documents which can be classified. Like I said, if you say documents, you have the Office classifier, Mac classifier, files. If you that, it's a Power classifier or file classifier. Message or say email, you can say that you have email and notes. And the managing means your console, the class administrator console is available you in the complete Foundation Suite. This is an architecture diagram of the Golden Gem. So here you can see the different components of the this is the file format like MS Office, Outlook, SharePoint, Exchange Server, etc. will be interacting first to the, one second, let me open my pointer. Yeah, so your different components are getting interacting with the classifier for components. So here you can see the different classifier components are already available on this, which will first classify your documents and then it will share the metadata information to the downstream technology. It can be like a DLP solution, it can be like data governance, data sharing, data retentions, data monitoring, etc. So that the Golden Gem class component completely verifies all the data. Maybe it can be on the configure policy or maybe on the based on the user preference, and then give the required labeling to the documents and the emails, and then pass it to the DLP solution. Now let's understand the each component in little bit more details. The classifier administrator. It's one of the main component of the Golden Gem. It will be installed on the server and allows to manage all policy, configuration, rules, and each classifier will get the updated policy list once it is published by the administrative console and do the classification for the document accordingly. Office classifier comes when it comes to Office classifier, we can apply the header, footer, watermarks for our MS Office files. It can be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and we can easily apply the labeling to the. I'll show you this more thing on the during the demo also. Email classifier. Email classifier is another agent installed on the desktop machine. It integrates with your Outlook solution, and once you send any email, it then automatically notifies the downstream technology to add the digital signature or say encrypt your those emails as and when required. OR classifier. OR classifier can integrate with your Action Server 2013, 16, 19, and also with your Office 365. We have enabled the OR classifier with through the Action Server. So if any user opening their email from different location, we can provide the classification labels and all other details. Exchange classifier. Exchange classifier, again, one more classifier. You are say you are receiving an email from the external recipient, and once it reaches to your environment, you don't have a context over it. Maybe they not having the data classification solution in that side, but when it goes to the action classifier, it will automatically classify those information before going to the user inbox. So matches tracking service is another agent where it can monitor an email which are going from your inbox or coming to your inbox and keep tracking and keep classifying those emails. SharePoint classifier. So SharePoint classifier is something where you have a product in place where it can integrate with them, and it integrates with Office 365 hosted on or maybe on-premise solution, and it gives the proper labeling for your files available within your SharePoint location. Mac classifier, it works same thing like an Office classifier. Here even you can add the header, footer, and the watermark to your documents, and it supports single click and multi-click select options. The CAD classifier, say if you're having any drawing files like AutoCAD or draft sites, you can use those drawing files and integrate and put it the header, footer, watermarks over there as well. Box classifier. We have the box classifier. It's a public cloud sharing application. We can integrate with them and we can classify the information. Classify reporting. So this is the last component whereby it helps us to understand the user behavior, which user are not properly classifying their documents, or the user who are downgrading their information, or it provides the classified information to integrate with any third party component like SIM or the UBA tools. So now let me take you to the actual demonstration. So here you can see this is the administrative console installed on a server for all configurations and the labeling and the rules being configured over here. So this is our one of the administrative console installed on the server. So we have the different global settings available over here. Once it is been clicked on it, one second, I just reload the page. Yeah, so global setting, we have the global setting. So we have the license available for the different classifier. You can see based on the number of users, we can see the respective classifiers licensing will be available. We have the different languages to be added over here. You can configure the different languages which you require to be added. You can add the images also if you want to have a confidential image to be available in the document or watermark image, you can add those things. You can add the custom messages also for your end user to understand what exactly the action to be performed. It can be a warning, it can be the prevention. You can add the required labels for your document. So this is the first category of the label. You can create a subcategories also. It can be like so parent-child and child relationship. So maybe within the internal you want to add like a HR or finance, something like that, you can do that thing. You can add the content also. You can validate the content. Say I want to validate the Visa credit card information. So as soon as the end user enters any Visa information that needs to be treated as a finance document or say internal document, I can take care of it. Or maybe some based on some keywords, FC, WMA or whatever. I can set the rules. The rules, it can be of for the different components, like say AutoCAD files or say Excel file or say Word file, PowerPoint files. I can select the required component for this. I can select the required rules for this. It can be directly adding the rule or maybe checking the values, checking the mandatory check, and then applying the required rules for my case. So all the configuration has been done over here. Once the configuration is done, at the end user side, so I'll show you one of my examples. So I have installed the MS Office in my machine. I'll just load one file for you. So this is a blank Excel file I'm using out. Currently, you can see all the labels has been, whatever I have configured it out, it's available over here. I can use this label for my classification. For a time being, I just create a test file and just save it out without any label. So it will give me the warning or it can give me the prevention. When I say warning, I can continue with this case. When I say prevention, I can't continue with this case. So it gives me the warning that a one mandatory label has not been selected. Kindly select it. So if I want, I can give my particular case. Say suppose I selected the personal. Now I'm trying to save. So classification is done every time on the save command or on the print command. I'll save it on a desktop. So now you can see now that message has been removed. I'll just save it on my desktop. Okay, now it's done. Now suppose I'm changing the label from personal to I mean to say the public. It again can give me a warning or the prevention that you are changing the label. Is it okay? Are you allowed it to do or you want to restore the changes? So if I continue, I can continue with this public. If I restore, I'll come back to my original one. Okay. So these are the options I am having out with my Excel file. I'll show one with a few with a Word file also. So I'm creating a fresh document in the Word. Now suppose any end user is entering any credit card information. Say I'm entering any credit card information and I'm trying to save that file. I'm not giving any label to my document. But I have created the rule for that, which makes my document by default the confidential with the credit card information. So I'll just save it in a desktop. You can see the confidential label is now available on the header and on the footer. So it by defaultly treat your document as a confidential document since you have entered this value. So it is an automated one based on your rules and regulations. Both rules given added on that. I'll show one more case for this. Let me open my Outlook. Let me open one email for you. So again, when I have installed the Outlook classifier also. So again, you can see my classification labels are available with me. I'm trying to send an email to my Gmail ID. Gmail ID is my external email. And I'm trying to attach the file, which is the confidential file. I mean to say the document you can see here, this confidential document is being treated as a confidential classification. You can see the classification given as confidential. Okay. So I'm using this document for my case and I'm trying to share this one with on the email. I'll attach this out. 1 second. Now, when I'm trying to send the email, it will give me the warning that you can't share any confidential document with your external team. Either change the document or I change the recipient email address. So here again, so everywhere I have given the warning. As I said, you can give the prevention also. So in the prevention, the continue button will be disabled. So end user can't proceed with that. So you are giving the some level of DLP action and the classification together through the bold engines. Clear? So these are the few examples with respect to the office classifier, email classifier. Let me show you with some PDF also, the PDF file. I'll come to the Bolden Gem demo section. Suppose I want to classify a PDF file. So I can go with a file classifier. This is a separate classifier. The PDF file will go with my user preferences. Suppose I want to treat it as an internal one. No matter what data it is, it will be totally on the user preferences. So I can click and update the value. So here rules are not been applied with for your document. Here the classification has been applied on the user preferences. So here you can see now it has been treated as an internal document. Same applies for the images also. So we have seen the classifier for the Word, Excel, maybe PowerPoint or maybe Outlook and the PDF and the images. So based on your requirement, we can show you the further demo and get you more understanding on that. I'll come back to the presentation. Sarin, can you take it further?
Sure, Dhaval, thank you. So now, team, we have understood on, about the data classification and about the short demo for Bold and James. So as I mentioned earlier, so now you understood why choose Bold and James for the data classification. So we integrate with powerful data security and governance ecosystems. Then we protect the business critical data, improve data control and reduce the risk, improved and streamlined business performance, and we are a safe pair of hands that constantly deliver success. And we also have strong integrations with all the DLP solutions in the market, especially Digital Guardian, which is one of our own solutions itself from Fortra. So the next sessions as I mentioned, the upcoming sessions, we will be explaining more about Digital Guardian and the integration with Bolden James and Digital Guardian. And we will also be doing a session on Typus, followed by a session on Vera, which is the digital rights management as well. Dhaval, next slide, please. Yeah. So with that, we are coming to an end of our session today. So if you have any questions, please feel free to enter that in the chat box so that we can address it now. Okay, so we have received a couple of questions. Okay, so the first one is, does Bolden James support or classify Arabic documents? Dhaval, if you could answer that, please.
Yeah, correct. Sarin, yeah, Bolden Gem is able to support the multi languages. So any document which has been classified, I'll just show you quickly. So we have one document over here. So if in case you're having any document for the in the Arabic language, again, those documents can be classified through the bold engines.
Okay. Thanks, Dhaval. The next question that we have is, what is required by a DLP solution to integrate with Bolden James?
Okay, this is really good question. So I understand that the metadata which is generated from the Bolden James and which is non-readable for the human being, this value is being stored in the document property files, property values, and those values are being used by any DLP solution or any downstream technology to take the further necessary actions.
Okay, I hope that is clear. And team, if you have any further questions, please enter that either in the chat window or in the Q&A session, please. And another question that we have is about the licensing of Bolden James, so which I will explain. So the licensing is mainly based on the number of users, and it is a subscription-based licensing that we have. So the basic model or the module covers the foundation suite, as it was mentioned by um, as it was mentioned by Dhaval earlier, the foundation suite. So that includes the email classifier, office classifier, file classifier, power classifier for files. All these are included in the foundation suite. And other options that we have, which is additional modules for the CAD classifiers, the Mac classifiers, the SharePoint classifiers, and also the OVA classifiers as well. So these are additional modules that can be uh, purchased along with that foundation suite. But it is not mandatory to have all these. The base model that we have is the foundation suite from Bolden James. So another question that we have is how good is classification with NDLP of Digital Guardian? Okay, so we have a strong integration with Digital Guardian and the um, Bolden James data classification solution. So when we talk about the network DLP of Digital Guardian and Bolden James, it has a, as I mentioned, has a strong integration. And it is actually now with Fortra, it will be coming to a one, it will be called as a health system. Earlier, it was supposed to be called as Health Systems 1. Now it will be called as Fortra 1, where we will have a single console, and later they are planning to do a single agent as well. The next questions, what we have here is, okay, how can Bolden James configuration be available for non-network users? Dhaval, would you like to answer that, please?
Sarin, can you repeat once again?
How can Bolden James configuration be available for non-network users?
Yeah, okay. So for the non-network user, so Golden Gem allows us to publish the data on the publish URL. So with once a non-network user just connect that publishing URL, it will get all the configuration files available in his machine. And later on, the classifier take care of the classification with the updated configuration available in the machine.
Okay, we have another question. Can password log files be managed? Example, zip password protected.
Yeah, we can try out that. We never got a chance to use those password protected, but we can try out and confirm on that.
Okay, with that, I believe we have come to an end for the questions. So if you have any further questions, as I mentioned, you can contact us. Team, thank you for joining the session. So I believe the session was very helpful, and you have an understanding of how the data protection suite from Fortra will secure the data, because data is paramount for any organization. So as a follow-up, we will be sending the recording of the session to you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to get back to us. And of course, if you require any separate sessions, you can actually come back to us as well. We can provide that. And with that, I would like to thank you all for attending the session. And next, we will be coming with a session for Digital Guardian separately, as I mentioned earlier, and followed by the other sessions as well. So thank you everyone for joining, and have a nice day.
Thanks, Sarin. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you.